Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman. Sorry. Mr. Chairman, we are streaming live on YouTube. You may begin when you're ready.
On, even though I'm talking nice and loud. Hello, everyone. All right, so I guess we're just gonna get started, right? Members are reminded that these meetings are in person for quorum requirements. Members attending online may not vote, but may comment and participate in discussion. To participate virtually, use the raise hand feature. Next. There are 2 public comment points in this meeting. Any speakers in person are welcome to fill out a comment card by the door and give those to Rachel in order to speak. This time, I don't have any additional comments other than glad to see so many of us here today. It's my understanding we've added some new members because some of our municipalities in the region are growing. That's cool. I like to pretend it's because I'm the chair now, but that's okay. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Slade for our agenda review.
Thank you. Good morning again, everyone, and welcome to our new chair for 2026, Miles O'Keefe. There is one change to today's agenda. Item 6A, the Sunshine Law refresher, has to be postponed until our next TAC meeting. So we will actually only have 2 common presentations today. Otherwise, the rest of the agenda remains as presented on your agendas and on the screens in front of you. Wanted to bring your attention to the 2nd annual APWA Florida Engineering, Innovation, and Technology Committee seminar. That'll be held on February 5th at the CFX headquarters. And also wanted to tell you about some good news. The most recent round of Safe Streets for All safety grants have been awarded. Florida received 40 awards, and wanted to say congrats to the numerous winners throughout Central Florida, Orlando metro area. It's always good to see those safety initiatives moving. On to some Metro Plan Orlando housekeeping. Wanted to remind everyone that the call for projects applications are due on January 30th by 5 p.m. If you have any final questions about the application, please contact Taylor Laurent as soon as you can. Thanks. Next up, also wanted to let you know recruitment is currently underway for anyone, any new members for the Community Advisory Committee. The CAC is kind of like our voice of the public. It's made up of non-transportation staff and non-elected officials. If you know anyone who is interested, please have them go to metroplanorlando.gov/CAC. Please have them go there today because applications do close today. So just wanted to let you all know about that. And finally, wanted to introduce everyone to our new transportation planning intern, Jamie McMillan. Jamie, if you could stand up. Thanks. Jamie is a Orlando native and a Master's of Urban Regional Planning student at UCF. Jamie is working on our pedestrian bicycle crash analysis tool, also known as PBCAT, and generally learning about the transportation industry as a whole. So if you see her around, say hey. And that takes me to the end of announcements. I'll turn it over to Mike for the safety moment. Thanks.
Thank you, Slade, and good morning, everyone. A new topic for safety moment. We haven't covered rail crossing safety, so thought we'd give that a go. And this video from Sunrail doesn't really need any elaboration. Yeah, don't do that. The data on rail crossing safety from our Vision Zero plan, we had 4 motor vehicle fatalities during the 5 years of our Vision Zero plan, and 4 serious injury crashes as well. There were 19 pedestrian fatalities and 8 injuries. 11 of those were either confirmed or presumed to be suicides. About a third of them happened at crossings and 2/3 outside the crossings, like you saw in the video, that first one. A couple of key things that the folks at Sunrail wanted me to communicate when it came to safety is the dynamic envelope, those hashed off areas on both sides of the rail. You see them outlined there. It's really simple. Don't cross the stop bar if you can't get your entire vehicle all the way across that zone, because you don't want the back of your vehicle or any part of your vehicle hanging out in that area. You know, the gates could come down while you're waiting. And then also they want us to know that we all can play a part in reporting problems. On all of the crossings, there's this blue and white sign with a phone number that you can communicate directly to the Sunrail and let them know if there are any issues that you see that need addressing. So that concludes my safety moment for this month. Be happy to take any questions.
Hey, Mike, what's the source for the pedestrian train crashes? I find that I don't often see those in Signal 4.
Yeah, they're not. We actually got those from Sunrail through the Vision Zero plan. So we don't have anything more current than what was for those 5 years. I'm not, I believe they have done some arrests for trespassing. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. Next up is our agency reports. The opportunity for partner agencies to speak to the Technical Advisory Committee. If any partners wish to speak here, please let Rachel or Slade know. Right now we have Jonathan Scarf with the FDOT report.
Morning, Mr. Chair, TAC members. Just some brief updates this morning. In your general information tab, you have our latest construction report that covers through January 5th, and we'll be producing another one around the same time next month. Just want to point out recently completed project. So Orange Avenue, also known as State Road 527 from Magnolia Avenue to Colonial Drive. That project is complete and received final walkthrough on 12/12/2025. That included milling and resurfacing as well as ADA curb ramp updates. And just another resource, if you weren't aware, on the I-4 Beyond, they're producing a newsletter now that provides updates to all of the projects. I know that there's a lot going on. It's a great source to find out the latest information on your various I-4 projects. And then in closing, our January campaign of the Move Over Month continues. Just of note, in 2024, there were 17,567 move over citations. And then that included 205 crashes, resulting in 1 fatality and 7 injuries. So continue to adhere to the Move Over Month. Pending questions, that concludes my update. I will make myself available if there are department-related questions following the committee.
Thank you very much. All right, next we have Rachel's going to take roll call for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If members can please remember to turn their microphone on, respond with here or present, and then mute your microphone. Barden.
Here.
Boswell.
Here.
Cash.
Here.
Castellero.
Present.
Castro.
Here.
Coulon. Jacques.
Oh, present.
Thank you.
The 2 of us. Good names.
Cornelison.
Here.
I'm mixing up my colognes and colognes, aren't I? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Cologne is here.
Thank you.
And
Crandell.
Cologne and Cologne.
Thank you. Crandell,
Here.
Delachey,
Here.
Ide,
Present.
Elliott Moore, Falk,
Here.
Hardwick,
Here.
Henry,
Here.
Horn,
Here.
Morales for Jimenez.
Here.
Yeah, thank you. LaFaso,
Here.
Masterson,
Here.
Mendenhall,
Here.
Mercado Vasquez,
Here.
Nelson,
Present.
O'Keefe,
Here.
Owens,
Here.
Perez, Price,
Here.
Pullum,
Here.
Ramos,
Here.
Recchi,
Here.
Rabon for Roll,
Here.
Sanchez, Sanders,
Here.
Sartorio,
Here.
Senerans, Smith,
Present.
Sheldon for Story,
Here.
Stoltz,
Here.
Wharton, Balone for Williams,
Present.
Womack,
Present.
Yeargain. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the roll call. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Rachel. All right. Next up, common presentations. We have two common presentations today, as Slade noted. These presentations are intended for the combined membership of both TAC and TISMO and presented at the beginning of this meeting for that purpose. Members with questions can stand their nameplate on end. Please remember to turn on your mic. Up first, Mr. Alex Trauger from Metro Plan Orlando with a presentation on the Unified Planning Work Program. Alex.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I think this is the first time out of all these years I've ever been up first at a joint TAC meeting. Normally I'm in the presentation on the back end, but nonetheless, good morning, everyone. It's that time of year or every other year where we come back and bring forward a unified planning work program. And that's one of those, words. What is that? And that's Metro Plan Orlando's annual operating budget. So we talk about core products a lot, our long range plan, our 2050 MTP, our prioritized project list in the middle. And our transportation improvement program, those are our core planning products. But this is another federally and state required product for Metro Plan Orlando for all MPOs to produce. Based on state guidance, it is a 2-year document. So it covers 2 fiscal years. This particular one will begin July 1 and take us through June of 2028. Again, as I mentioned before, it is a core requirement for us to pass through and spend any federal highway or for links to spend any of the federal transit planning funds. And it is a performance-based budget. So it identifies programs, projects, responsible staff, timelines, and deliverables as required by federal and state law. Our schedule for this, like I said, this is something we bring back to the advisory committee and to the board every other year, taking this preview or what I call informational presentation to the board, you all and the board this cycle. The next time we come together, we'll actually have a tangible document with numbers and costs. But today is really more of a heads up of what we're working on and that we're kind of refining some of the scopes and budgetary items. By law, it must be transmitted to FDOT by March 15th. Our board meets on March 11th, just a couple days in advance of that. So we're there. A month later, we get comments back from DOT, hopefully little to none. And then we bring that back to our board for a final approval at their May meeting. And again, based on state guidance, that needs to be transmitted back to the state and federal highway by the end of May. And again, the budget begins on July 1st of this year. The document itself, and you can go on metroplanorlando.com/UPWP if you want to see the current budget, but no changes to the core structure and organization of the document. 95% of the structure contents, what's in there are federal and state requirements. So there's rhyme and reason for every table, phrase, and map that's included in the UPWP. But again, it is a budgetary planning document. It does include proposed studies and core activities. So we just came out of what I call our MTP heavy UPWP. So for the past 2 years, you've seen a lot about long-range plan, seen a lot about our other kind of master plans that fed into the long-range plan. Well, the next 2 years, we go into implementation mode. We go back into serving our local partners through different plans and studies, but at the end of the day, implementing the 2050 MTP. So what's on the horizon for that work to take place over the next 2 years? We did, as you heard, get official approval on our federal Safe Streets and Roads for All supplemental planning grant. So good news there. We're going to be kicking off that soon, but the majority of the work will be done in this upcoming UPWP cycle. So a lot more to come on that. Funding for our transportation improvement program activities, as well as I mentioned, implementation tasks for the 2050 MTP. So we have a lot of modeling activities, both travel demand at the macroscopic level, working with DOT on updates to the Central Florida Regional Planning Model. We also received a federal discretionary grant for some multi-resolution modeling that Eric Hill has presented on in the past as part of the federal prioritization pilot program. So we're going to be exploring different ways to model TISMO and non-traditional capacity projects to have a better tool to measure those types of projects. But also the MTP identified corridors that need a little more focus, a little more dedicated planning, as well as some sub-area studies that we'll be conducting, but also continuing our work on health and transportation resilience, identifying vulnerabilities and moving more. It's going to make us eligible for some other existing federal funding programs. But we also identified some other future tech opportunities. We talked a little bit about advanced air mobility. I know Jacques, that's not always top of his mind and a leader in the region in that. I know Orange County has initiated some work recently as well. We did some origin and destination analysis as part of the 2050 MTP to start understanding where those 60, 80, 100-mile travel patterns and activity centers are. We want to dig a little bit deeper into the data and hopefully provide some guidance to our local partners without duplicating any efforts that Orlando, Orange, or the state or what the FDOT has already done. Also be looking at funding. That was a key constraint, as each of you know, with the 2050 MTP. We have to live within our means, but that's a challenge. So over the next couple of years, we're going to be exploring creative funding sources and other ways to move the needle on transportation expenditure. So a lot to come there, and you'll hear more next month. But we will be continuing our annual traffic signal retiming program and before and after studies, following up on the TISMO conversation. That program is going to evolve. We're still going to have the program. The goals, objectives, approach, and method will change, but we're still dedicating funds to retime a set of signals that will be administered by our Systems Management and Operations Advisory Committee. Travel data and acquisition. We're still going to continue that to provide a resource to our local partners. So whether it's Urban SDK, Streetlight, Replica, whatever origin and destination travel pattern data we're going to be acquiring, subscribing through various means for regional studies. But as each of you know, that data is all based on the structure of our license agreements. We ensure that those are available to you as well. I know many of you have access to those, and we want to continue that value-added service to the MPO. As part of that, systems performance monitoring, really important, a federal requirement, but also really important as we talk about managing our plans. I know Lenny made a comment about that earlier, kind of looking at projects funded, what's not, and how we look at it at a systems level. So we'll be continuing that. We're also going to continue our white paper series. You saw our micromobility one that's caught a lot of traction, both locally, but also going into legislative session. We've heard a lot of good feedback from our state representatives and senators that they're using that as a resource as they're going into session. So that worked out, our end in mind was reached. So we're going to continue that. We have an emergency response, balancing emergency response with traffic calming. That's coming soon, but we plan on doing a white paper on a relevant topic, probably about quarterly, 3 to 4 a year as time permits. And the last one there is tentative based on some additional coordination that needs to occur, a Sunrail parking study. If you participate at Sunrail, the Sunrail Technical Advisory Committee, this has come up a few times. Metro Plan Orlando kicked off a study right before the pandemic in 2019. Obviously, we closed that study based on circumstances of that year, but it's come up that we need to revisit that. So we're going to continue coordination with the funding partners as well as DOT and the Commuter Rail Commission TAC to see what we can do. But we're thinking at least a needs assessment with a focus on Sand Lake, Tupperware, and Meadowwoods, but also just kind of looking at the system as a whole and develop an action plan for that. We're also going to continue our public participation on the safety front, but also we're kicking off a public opinion research
That happens on every even year. So you're going to hear more about that from our communications team, but we'll be completing that effort in the next budget cycle. You see a lot about our annual reports, information, all the stuff that makes our products shine. Our communications team will be funded through that. And then you'll see our public opinion survey again, that will take place in 2 years. We also do work outside of the 3-county area. So we have quite the large region. We joke internally, our study area is already the size of the state of Delaware. But we also do work with our peer MPOs in counties surrounding. That's based, one, on best practice, but also contiguous urbanized area in the federal planning process. We shall participate and engage with our partners outside of the 3-county area. Metro Plan Orlando convenes what's called the Central Florida MPO Alliance. It brings all of the MPOs within District 5 as well as Polk County together along the I-4 corridor. Those meetings happen here quarterly in this room. So they meet, but our staff amongst the MPOs meet regularly as well to make sure our plans don't end at the urban area, at the boundary lines. Some of Eric's work that wrapped up last year outside of our study area, I call it the Super Regional TISMO Organizational Strategic Plan. But they developed a strategic plan, and some next steps is going to go into that is seeing how far we can go with implementing that. But that includes MPOs in counties from Volusia County all the way over to Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas. So that's a very significant effort along the I-4 corridor. And something else we're also doing, working with advancing the Lake to Lake Regional Trail. This is something that's come up, some state opportunity through Office of Greenways and Trails, and we want to make sure that we do some of the initial planning to tee that one up for some possible state discretionary monies that wouldn't impact our other formula-based funds. So we're working with our counties on that. They've already had some initial meetings, but we're also working with the Polk MPO as well as our partners in the Heartland MPO, which kind of takes into account the Okeechobee area. So as it relates to monies, our current year budget, you'll see current year and next year a little higher than it typically is. A lot of that is probably about $5 million of federal discretionary funds, whether it be the safety projects or the modeling efforts for the multi-resolution discretionary grants that we've received. But 9 to 11 million is pretty much where we're at based on the majority of our formula funds and local assessment there. We also pass funds through to links. This is based on what we call the Consolidated Planning Grant. About 4 years ago, federal law changed where there used to be planning monies for highways, planning monies for transit, and they were really cleanly delineated. Now they're grouped into one pot of money. We call it PL. They're basically federal planning funds, and we work with links cooperatively to administer those funds. This current year, we've been leveraging our general planning consultant to do a lot of those works in support of links. Next year, it's our game plan to transfer or pass through all of those funds on a reimbursement basis. And we also pass funds through to links to administer the paratransit service for transportation disadvantaged. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. If you have any tough ones, I'll take notes and I'll follow up with our director of finance and we'll get in touch with you. But at your next meeting, we'll actually have a tangible document with a lot more substance at your place. With that, I'll answer any questions that you may have. But I appreciate your time this morning.
This should be an easy one. Just on the white papers that have been done, are those online somewhere for those of us that maybe haven't been around as long? If we could look at the library of the white
sure. So we only have one that's currently published, and that was the e-micromobility. The other one's coming soon. I'll look to Laura. May, but we will create a library, especially as the series expands.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
On the Sunrail parking study, is there an opportunity to look more broadly at the scope of that as more of a first last mile connection to those stations?
Yeah, not opposed to that at all. We were going to pick up where we started with the scope that was developed in 2019. And that's something that we'll be engaging the partners on as well. So again, we're penciling in budget to accomplish the work. But over the next 3-4 months, we're going to be working with each of you, especially with interested and impacted jurisdictions, to make the scope work for current circumstance. So definitely on the table.
The FDOT District 5 officially released the Central Florida Regional Planning Manual version 8
So the Regional 8 model was postponed. They were having some issues as it relates to kind of timing. All the MPOs developed long-range plans and had to utilize other projection approaches to forecast traffic in the future. So what DOT has done is they put it on pause, and they're actually kicking off again for version 8 very soon. So they've just selected a new modeling consultant, or they will be selecting a new modeling consultant, and initiating a 2025 base year and a 2055 horizon year. So you'll be hearing a lot more about us. Taylor's going to be leading that coordination effort. But each of you in the coming months will be hearing a lot more about that. We'll be reaching out as it relates to base and future year socioeconomic data, but we'll be doing a lot of the due diligence on our end to kind of make sure that's as streamlined as possible for each of our partners. DOT is also converting that over to the Caliper Corporation's Transcad. So there's also a model conversion process that's taking place at the same time. And if anyone needs questions about Florida modeling structure or travel demand models of Florida, Arturo is probably the best resource in the state. So I'll toot his horn for him. Thanks, Arturo.
Yes, thank you. Alex, excuse me if I missed it. You had a lot of really good information. I was trying to take it all in. If we go back to the slide where you talked about the timeline for the, I'm sorry. Thank you. For the prior to the March 11th, where you said board approval of draft UPWP, is there a time frame for when that draft will be reviewable? I mean, if I missed that, if it's already posted, excuse me, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, sure. That's actually going to go out. So our board will have it at their March 11th meeting. It's going to be actually released with your next agenda packets. So that'll come out probably in the next 3 weeks or so.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Of course, Lynx does appreciate coordinating with MetroPlan Orlando on the UPWP funding. Just FYI for everybody else, we're planning to use that for our system-wide origin destination survey and major update to our transit development plan. So a big old project for us that we greatly appreciate the support on. Another white paper question, is MetroPlan open to suggestions on topics?
Absolutely.
All right. So we
Yeah,
should
if
reach
you
out
have
to
ideas, shoot Laura
Yep.
a note. She leads that program for us. We have, I'll be honest with you, we have a queue just based on feedback and kind of other relevant topics. But we definitely want to solve. We're not just writing white papers for ourselves. We want to make sure that they're meaningful and they have reach. And that's why I mentioned the success of the micromobility one. It was relevant, timely, and filled the gap of information that was not already out there. So we're not trying to duplicate any NCHRP or federal research. We're trying to put together kind of best practices, pull from some of those more technical documents, but also develop content that's digestible for a normal reader. So we're striking balance with that. But if you have ideas, don't hesitate to reach out to Laura. No promises, but we'll definitely bring that back to the group to weigh in on. As I mentioned before, we're aiming to do about 3 of those a year. Takes us about probably about 100 days to put that together, and just to make sure it's sound research, but also reader palatable.
Question here. Yeah, Alex, thank you so much for the white papers and all the information. My question is, as every year we are tracking the legislature and just seeing what House bills and Senate bills that they have and how do they impact us. I know that they have been considering some requirements whenever we have the crosswalks or the school zones, and there might be an implication of additional cost for the municipalities. Also, as they are looking at the micromobility, not only looking at vendors, but also private users and how do they regulate the speeds and the safety and everything. Do we have a mechanism ourselves, as you indicated, that they're using the white paper perhaps as an information document to be able to have the conversation or to maybe develop some law? Do we have a strategy as part of Metro Plan and the regional plan to track those things? Because definitely that can impact us in terms of how funding, what is required and the expectations.
Yeah, so the white papers are one mechanism for that. Metro Plan Orlando does, our board has hired a lobbyist and probably represented same lobbyist as many of our local partners as well. That's one of the benefits of our local funding. It allows us to influence, at the state and federal level. So we do have a legislative services contract, and they're already actively working. Our board sets the legislative priorities for the organization, our executive committee and board. And so I know they're already hard at work at that. And then from the planning front, we're just trying to fill the gaps with, some of the, information, kind of to make the case in a really straightforward way.
Any other questions for Alex? All right, thank you very much. Next up is me, Miles O'Keefe from Lynx, presenting on our Transit Development Plan annual update. So as such, I will be handing the gavel over to our Vice Chair Umberto while I hop up and give it. Good morning, Miles O'Keefe, Manager of Strategic Planning at Lynx. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. I'm here to do a little show and tell on the annual update to Lynx's Transit Development Plan, or TDP. In this, go over the background of what the TDP, the Transit Development Plan, is, revised rule that changed about 1.5 years ago. We like to share the agency's accomplishments. That's part of our planning documents. Of course, we want to do a little cheerleading for ourselves here on that. We also, in our plan, like to highlight the service changes. We'll capture a couple of the big ones here. And of course, a look ahead. What are the plans and projects that Lynx is working on? And then finally, the next steps for our TDP annual update process. So why? Well, if we do not complete an update to this plan annually, we do not qualify for public transit grants from FDOT. The plan, it identifies our needs and addresses any service-related issues over a 10-year planning horizon. So with each annual update, we create a new first year, or we refresh the first year, and we add a new 10th year to the end of the plan. As I noted, we list our accomplishments. If there were any discrepancies between what we thought we would do in this first year versus what actually happened, we identify why that might have been. And then beyond these annual updates, we have a major update due every 5 years. So as I noted in the comments regarding the UPWP, we'll be leveraging those funds to this summer kick off our next major update that will be due March 1st of 2028. The revised rule from the state was effective in July of 2024. It was an attempt to streamline the annual update and the major update processes. So some things were no longer required, such as goals and objectives to be included in the plan, but it did emphasize an increased coordination with the respective MPO, TPO, TPA, whatever it is for the respective transit agency. Fortunately for us, we've had a long-standing relationship with Metro Plan Orlando. So these presentations here at this committee and to the Metro Plan Board is part of that increased coordination versus what we've done in the past. The other piece that was updated is these used to be due on September 1st. Now they're due March 1st of each year, and that lines up better with FDOT's fiscal year. So they'll review it in the spring, and everything will be good to go effective July. I mentioned the coordination. So usually what do? We hand over our documents to Metro Plan Orlando. It used to go on what was the LRTP, the Long Range Transportation Plan. But most recently, as we all worked through the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, the MTP update, what we did, Lynx, is we took our plans from our TDP and we gave it over to Metro Plan. It was ingested directly, essentially, into the transit element of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We hold monthly coordination meetings with Metro Plan staff, and that continues on. So what's really changed is just more conversations about what the plans are more regularly, and if we're leveraging their on-call planning consultants as we are now for our customer satisfaction survey. But then it's also these presentations. So we'll be at each of these committees as well as the board annually, kind of in this time frame. But for the major update, we do plan on coming at least a couple more times just to carry everybody along for that process. As far as our accomplishments this past year, there's a bunch of them. I'm just going to touch on a few for you all today. So big one for our passengers was opening the Pine Hills Transfer Center. That began operations in August of 2025. We continue to coordinate with the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, GOA, on relocating our bus transfer activities. Currently, we're at Terminal A, if you're familiar and you've had the pleasure of taking the bus to and from the airport. But we're looking at relocating down by Terminal C in the train station. So we've been working together for a couple of years on that one, and we'll be doing so for the next few years. We completed the agency's first sustainability and resiliency plans. What this does is, one, kind of gives us an internal document. What can we say that we've already been doing and just assign it a label of sustainability or resilience planning, but it also opens the door for some discounts on grant applications for the agency. It decreases our match by 10% by having one of those plans to reference. We've done some annual updates as well, things like our transportation disadvantage service plan. As a minor update last year, we completed the agency's first ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act transition plan for our fleet, facilities, and stops. So that's something that we can then leverage to guide some of the improvements to, say, our bus stops, sidewalk improvements, replacing benches, just that boarding and lighting accessibility at our stop, but also identifying the visual components, proper lighting, zero reflectivity on the signage at all of our stops. We also updated our bus stop design guide manual this past year. That's something that we hope to be a resource to all of you. If you're curious why or why not a bus stop looks a certain way, share that with you all, and you can kind of see what the hierarchy of the stops are and what you could expect based off of ridership and neighboring land uses for those stop areas. And as I mentioned, we're working on a customer satisfaction survey. So that kind of wrapped up this past fall, and would be happy to share the results of that with you all at some point this spring. New and exciting for everybody in the region that's riding transit, we have a new bus tracker app available. So we went through a procurement this past year, and the agency selected Transit app, which already had over 20,000 users in the Central Florida area. So not a new product, but a newly enhanced product. How this works is Links is effectively paid for the premium, the Royale version of Transit app for everyone. So whether you're a resident or a visitor, as long as you're in the geofence of the Link service area, you get all the enhanced features there in the Transit app, and it's live now. So feel free to download it, take a look, favorite your favorite routes or stops, and enjoy riding the bus, everybody. As part of the Accelerated Transportation Safety Program with Orange County, we have installed 26 new bus shelters with 73 in progress. So greatly appreciate that partnership with Orange County as we plan to do several more of these next few years. We also wrapped up a pilot program with an FTA, a Federal Transit Administration grant, on State Road 436. Some of you may recall that close to a decade ago, we completed an alternatives analysis study for bus rapid transit up and along State Road 436 from the airport up to the Altamont Springs Sunrail station. This project focused on the City of Orlando portion of 436, roughly from State Road 50 down to just north of the airport, like 528. And that data was look at existing land use, were there any overlays that would be transit supportive, and then made recommendations for what maybe the City of Orlando or Orange County could add to their programming that would encourage more transit-friendly, transit-oriented development to the roadway. That's something that the FTA is looking towards more as we put in applications, that the region has done some of the prerequisites. You're not just asking for money for a BRT or light rail or anything, that you've done the land use work that would support once the thing is in place and operating. Service changes. So we do like to highlight our service changes for the past year. So several different flavors of service changes in 2025 for Links. One was a simple extension of our Link 311. That's our express bus that runs from the airport over to the convention center and then over to Disney as well. So that has a new little, we'll call it leg, that serves Epic Universe since that opened up to great fanfare this past year. I mentioned we opened the new Pine Hills transfer station in August. That resulted in adjusting routes and schedules of several of our routes listed on the screen there. And then just last week, we had a service reduction in Seminole County in coordination with the Scout Mobility on Demand service that Seminole County's put into place. So new look in terms of what the accessibility is on the Link side of things in Seminole County. So that's just the highlights of what the service changes were this past year. Looking ahead, as we all know, projects are not necessarily 1 year in their duration. So we're continuing to work with the airport. I'm colorblind, so I can't really tell if that outline's on there, if you can see it or not, but there's an outline on there where the footprint is of the bus transfer facility is. So we're going to keep working with GOA on a feasibility study initially for that. And if we get beyond that with the FDOT grant that we have, perhaps some environmental examination of that station area for us. Lynx is actively working on a fare study right now. We do plan, if you're interested, next month, February, to share that with our board and what we think should be looked at in more detailed manner in terms of what our fare structure is. One of the things that we are required to do is a transit asset management plan. Think of it as preventative maintenance. We receive lots of money from the federal government every year to buy our fleet, to maintain things. You want to make sure that we're just spending their money well and not just letting vehicles kind of wear out faster than they should. Same with our facilities. And then some upcoming work we have, we'll be kicking off an update to our Title VI program this month, as well as I mentioned, system-wide origin destination survey and a major update to our transit development plan. As far as next steps go, this month and next, we'll finish off the committees here at Metro Plan Orlando with the same presentation, wrapping up with the board later in February. After that, we'll go back to my board of directors at Lynx, present again, receive their authorization to submit in time by March 1st to FDOT. They will then go through their reviews. We'll have a conversation back and forth if there's any clarifications that they need, with final closeout and everything ready for the start of the state's fiscal year in July. With that, I thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from the members of the committee? Okay. Dana?
Thank you, Miles. Not specifically on what you presented, but more what you got at the end, what the routes that were removed. A question came up, who's responsible for removing the shelters, the pads, and the maintenance on there for those routes?
Lynx has a contractor in place to begin removing signs first, most likely, because that's kind of the telltale that something's there, and then we'll get to any of the assets, the amenities like benches and shelters, trash cans. We'll take care of that.
And is the thought to keep the landings, or at least if it was a part of the sidewalk, I'd hate to see that removed.
To my knowledge, we have no intention of tearing up any of the boarding or lighting areas. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm just gonna follow up on that. So many of the pavilions, but the shelters are maintained by, I forget their name, a vendor. So do we need to coordinate with the vendor or the local cities, or does Lynx do that?
If it is through a local contract for advertising for the bench or whatever, that would be on the locality. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
On your station at the airport, Terminal C, are you gonna have a route going to the Sand Lake Sunrail station?
We currently have the 311 serving that. So when we shift all the resources from Terminal A, all the routes will go down there and continue to serve over to Sand Lake Sunrail.
On the new shelters that are going to be built, I think you had on there 73. Is there a list where we can get that, where we know that they're going to go, or do you have that? Can you put that out? I mean,
I will coordinate with our project manager on that and see how we can convey that to you.
Okay, yeah. It'd be, I think there's a couple going in our area, but I had heard, so I just would like to know.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Humbert.
Yes.
Orange County does have an ATSP website that provides some information.
That shows that?
It shows some of that information.
Just trying to understand the process a little bit better. So you have an annual TDP update, but then you also maybe at the same time are working on the I don't know, the major one. Is that what I'm
There's
hearing?
a bit of an overlap. So right now, come March 1, we'll be done with this annual update, which is our 2026 to 2035 plan. We will then kind of simultaneously be running the 27 and the 28. So 28 will be our major update. We're going to give ourselves about a year and a half to do that one because we want to capture the origin destination survey of our passengers. So that's a fall activity we imagine. Wrap that up. 12 months to do the rest of the major update, and it'll just be a pretty simple annual update simultaneous. Then after that, it's just kind of the lone annual update for the next 3 years. So it's kind of that fourth year, which is an annual update, and what is your fifth year and major do have a bit of an overlap, and that's kind of new for us in this cycle, this new rule.
And how can that play into, I guess, sort of the transit update for a particular county? Is there information that's helpful? Any updates that we're doing in that regard?
Yes. So many of you are part of the Links Regional Working Group meetings that we have. Given the new rules, emphasis on land use and corridor evaluations, in addition to traditional like comp plan coordination, we plan on leaning on our regional working group a lot more than we have in the past, asking for volunteers, looking for contacts. So over this next 18 months, beginning this summer, we plan to reach out, hear what you have going on development wise for corridors specifically, anything that you think you would like to see different than what's currently posted in the plans as well, looking at those next 10 years for us. So shorter timeline than VMTP has here at Metro Plan. Really 5 years, like we're fairly confident those are going to happen. In the next 10 years, like we're putting it in there because we think it could, but we don't want to miss out on the funding opportunity if it's not in there.
Okay, so around the summertime, you're thinking?
We will kick off this summer largely on the surveying effort because we want to knock that out in the fall, have that data available to us for to the consultant team. So in earnest, the major update work will start calendar 27 most likely.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, I do have one question. Thank you so much, Miles, for this presentation. Regarding the ADA transition plan for links, regarding the major corridors, we had identified 24 high internet network corridors within Orange County. Some of the things, so safety countermeasures that we're looking at is leading pedestrian intervals. A critical aspect is the location of the bus stop, whether that is near side or far side. I know that you're updating them. Is there an opportunity to comment? Perhaps if we would like to relocate it to the far side, just to prevent some of these conflicts and also to improve operations with the signal time. And what is the process for us to reach out to links?
So I would make a suggestion to our manager of service planning, Bruce Detweiler, and I can convey to you all his contact information. And that can just be an ongoing thing. That doesn't have to line up with the plan or anything. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you so much, Miles. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
And I will return the gavel. Mr. Miles, okay. No need to rush. Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for filling in so valiantly while I was away. Yes. Okay. So now we will hear public comments on the action items. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record, and please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less. If any members of the public wish to comment and are joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll send you a prompt to unmute your mic. Do we have anyone joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
No hands raised online.
Do we have any members of the public attending in person that wish to make a public comment?
No comments received.
Are there any written comments that were submitted before the meeting?
None were received.
All right. Next, we move to action items. So we have December 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. The full meeting minutes are included in section 1 of the agenda packets. Is there a motion?
I move to approve. Chad Smith.
Do we have a second?
Tony Nelson, second.
All right. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right. So it's a voice vote. If there are any nays, a roll call vote is needed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Those opposed? All right. Motion carries. Number 2, we have amendments to the 2026-2030 Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP. Taylor Laurent can tell us more about that, and there's more information in section 2 of the agenda packet. Taylor?
Good morning, everyone. And I'm not presenting on the MGP today, so if you do have any questions about our long-range plan, I can give you an update later after the meeting. But today we're focusing on the near-term revisions to our transportation improvement program. We have two amendments for you today. The first being the addition of a new project for the Links 5310 program, which provides funding for projects such as Meals on Wheels and other community support programs. This is including an additional $1.5 million within the TIP for this program here in fiscal year 2026. The second change is to an existing project. Not too long ago, we made a few updates to the Poinciana Connector project. Here we're seeing a few administrative edits to be able to advance the right-of-way and environmental phases from fiscal year 27 to fiscal year 2026 to allow them to do some contracting this fiscal year. And also the addition of $16.8 million in turnpike funds for construction also this fiscal year. So unless you have any questions about either of these two projects, we are asking for your recommendation of approval to these amendments as they've been presented today.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval, Stoltz.
Do we have a second?
Smith.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All right, it's a voice vote. If there are any nays, a roll call vote is needed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Taylor. Next up, we have support for federal transportation safety performance targets. Laura Bach can tell us more about this one. There's more information in section 3 as well of the agenda packet.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. All right, so federal transportation law requires that state DOTs and MPOs alike use something called the Transportation Performance Management Approach, which is intended to ensure that our investments and our policy decisions are supportive of our strategic performance goals. So the way that we work that approach is that we look at past performance and forecasted conditions to set targets. Then FHWA monitors our progress towards these targets as a part of our periodic planning processes, and then we set new targets periodically. Today, we're going to be focusing on the safety category. Within that category, the metrics that we set targets for include the number and rate of fatalities within our region, the number and rate of serious injury crashes within our region, and then the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injury crashes. On this slide, what we're showing are the last several years of rolling 5-year averages for each of the metrics that I just talked about. I will note that the crash data for 2025 is only available through October 31st at this point. So the rolling average in that 2025 column with the asterisk is reflective of that sort of partial data. Nonetheless, what we are seeing through this data is a general downward trend for each of these metrics since approximately 2021, which is good. Though we did see a pretty small uptick in the non-motorized fatal and serious injury crashes in that last rolling average that includes the 2025 crashes. As an MPO, we're required to establish our targets for the safety performance metrics on February 27th of every year, which is 180 days after FDOT's required to set their targets. So as they have the last several years, in keeping with their Target Zero initiative and those related goals, FDOT set their target at 0 for each of these safety metrics. And as we have for the past several years, we're recommending that we also set the targets for each of these metrics at 0 in keeping with our Vision Zero goals. So with that very brief overview, the requested action today is your support for recommended approval of these safety targets as presented on this slide. That's all I have for you, but happy to answer any questions.
Hello, Laura.
Hi there.
Again. I appreciate you showing the 5-year averages. One thing I bring up every year on the targets is our goal is 0. It makes sense to set it as 0. But what are our benchmarks in getting to 0? Can you refresh my memory from the regional safety action plan if there is a benchmark that we're aiming towards in the next 5 years? For example, in the 2021 Orlando Vision Zero action plan, our benchmark was a 50% reduction in the first 5 years.
Okay.
So is there something similar?
I don't think we set a benchmark for the first 5 years. You know, we set our target at 2050, but we don't have a benchmark. That said, we are in the midst of doing our annual report, so we'll be able to see sort of where we landed year over year. Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laura, for the presentation, and it is encouraging to see the downward trend. So that is very positive. And how does this data correlate, if at all, with the Dangerous by Design report? I know that a lot of us will wait for that report and try to establish that as our benchmark dealing with the public. So do they use the same data that we use, or how does the process
You know,
work?
that's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head exactly what data that they use in Dangerous by Design. I will look at that and I can get back to you on that specific point. And then, we're all waiting to see what the next report says, where we end up, hopefully out of the top 20.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
I can chime in. They
Thank you.
use the FARS data for the metropolitan statistical area, which I think is slightly different than Metro Plan's region. So the numbers won't be apples to oranges, but they'll be very similar. That report is planning to come out this June or July as usual. And there is likely to be a focus on some of the more federal level trends for that report from Smart Growth.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, cool. Is there a motion?
Move to approve, Shad Smith.
Second?
Second, Cologne.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? All right, there's another voice vote. If there are any nays, a roll call vote is needed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next, TAC-only presentations. There are no TAC-only presentations today. General information. There are several items in the general information portion of the agenda packet, which is section 4. Upcoming meetings of interest. The next TAC meeting is held in person Friday, February 27th, 2026. The next Metro Plan Orlando board meeting, also in person, is Wednesday, February 11th at 9 a.m. And a full list of meetings is in the agenda. Member comments and other business. Are there any comments from committee members and any other business to discuss, to share? All right.
One thing, just to go off of what Laura was saying earlier about the FARS data, just as a clarification, the Orlando MSA is our 3 counties plus Lake, just in case anyone's using that data.
Okay. We've reached our second public comment period. We will now hear public comments on all business. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record, and please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less. If any members of the public wish to comment and are joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll send you a prompt to unmute your mic. Do we have anyone joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
No hands raised online.
Do we have any members of the public in person that wish to make a public comment?
Yes, we have 2 public comments, and Mr. Thomas Norret will speak first.
Orlando, Florida, 32820. And I wanted to present a safety concern at the intersection of State Road 50 and Lansing Street. It's currently has a median break and serves the Lansing Street community, which is built up of approximately 150 residential units, Busy Links bus station, a community health center, and some other commercial businesses whose sole access to State Road 50 is via Lansing Street. I am a property manager of a business that's located at Lansing and State Road 50, and we regularly receive requests from insurers, attorneys, and FHP for footage relating to accidents that take place at that intersection. As a part of State Road 50's widening project, I request that this intersection be looked at either via traffic signal warrant or a safety analysis, something to look into this particular intersection and say, hey, what's going on here? There's more than just removing this median break is not going to solve the issue. And it could potentially cause more issues given that the accidents that we're seeing occurring are from Lansing Street turning eastbound onto 50 and high speeds from traffic coming eastbound down 50, hitting those vehicles as they're turning right onto State Road 50. So removing the median brake will enhance the amount of traffic that has to make a right only onto 50, which just doesn't make sense in my opinion. So I'm asking for a more of a look at that particular situation as a part of the project.
Thank you very much.
Our second speaker is Mr. Tom Narrett.
Thank you. Yes, my name, Tom Narrett, 14620 Joe Sword Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32826. Same topic. I second that motion in terms of having the Metro Plan look at and, request some studies when this thing comes back up for budgeting, which I think is going to be in 28, if I'm not mistaken, from the project manager. Here out on the right-hand side of that, it kind of shows there's 3 median breaks today. One is useless on the far right. That should go away. It serves nothing at present. And then the argument is on the other 2, where right now it's positioned within FDOT to service the farm and pet store and the borrow pit versus the Lansing Street community that was just mentioned. From an ITE perspective, the metrics there is roughly 1,425 trips, plus the businesses, plus the healthcare center. And so again, that's what we're requesting from that regard. From a safety and smart growth perspective, short term, the safety, of course, is yes, it should be serving Lansing. Long-term smart growth should really be, hey, the borrow pit at some point in the next 15, 20 years will turn into a residential community, and it would be no problem for Orange County to require on the PD a alignment of their ingress egress road to match up obviously with Lansing and the appropriate crossing, which at that point would probably be a signal thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
No further comments.
Are there any written comments that were submitted before the meeting?
None were received.
All right. Well, friends, we've reached the end. If no other business, we will adjourn today. It is 11:02.